Hey guys, thank you for joining us here at CEC for the Radeon RX 5600 launch. My name is Mithun Chandrasekhar, and I lead the product management team for the RX 5000 series family. Today we'll be talking to you guys about, as mentioned, the RX 5600 XT GPU. But before that, let's spend a little bit of time to set some context. 2019 has been a great year for Radeon. As most of you know, we launched the 5700 and 5500 to great success. And as part of that launch, we introduced a brand spanking new architecture in the RDNA. In addition to that, we also brought 7-nanometer GPUs to the masses, along with technologies such as GDDR6, PCI Gen 4. So we have a solid pillar in the hardware. But in addition to that, we also ended up having a very solid story with the content. At the end of the day, the GPU is only as the content that you run on top of it. And as a result of that, we've actually taken great pride in some of the partnerships that we've fostered with the industry, with Microsoft, with Gearbox, a bunch of other developers to bring some solid titles to run on your Radeon GPUs. And to finish things up, the ecosystem that is a part of the overall Radeon gaming dynamics theme is also a very important pillar. This includes the Radeon FreeSync ecosystem that continues to grow day by day. In fact, we are nearly at 1,000 monitors at this point in time. Here in technology such as Radeon Anti-Lag and Radeon Boost on top of it, it just gives the average Radeon gamer a very obvious and measurable competitive edge. So in addition to great hardware, great software, and great ecosystem, with the addition of the 5600 XT, we have a brand new member to the Radeon RDNA 1.0 family. An important point that we want to get across before I talk a little bit more about the GPU is the fact that over 65% of the gamers, at least per the Steam hardware survey, are still playing at 1080p. So it's fair to say that a vast majority of gamers out there on PCs are still 1080p gamers. Even more interesting is the fact that the top 3 GPUs on Steam today are at least 3 years old. Some are even older, in fact. And in fact, the top GPU right now is NVIDIA's 1066GB. Hold that thought while I go through the next few slides. Talking about the 1066GB, as you can see, when you run a bunch of modern workloads, both AAA games as well as esports titles, you can see that it barely makes even the bare basic 60 frames per second and 90 frames per second marks needed for AAA gaming and esports titles. And this is with everything turned on. So while the GTX 1066GB was good 3 years ago, a lot of the gamers on that GPU are looking for a viable upgrade path. They're looking for the next GPU that will tide them over the next 2 to 3 years. And we think we have the answer for that. And the answer is the Radeon RX 5600 XT that we think is the ultimate 1080p gaming GPU. I will be walking you through the specs and the performance in the and hopefully convince you of this by the end of the deck. Here are the speeds and feeds for the Radeon RX 5600 XT. I won't walk through every single one of them, but at a high level, the 5600 XT has the same 36 compute units as the 5700. It has a lower power target and a resulting lower game clock and boost clock. But this is also the first time in Radeon history that we're launching a 6 gigabyte SKU. It's still GDDR6 memory that's strapped to a 2-bit bus. It's still built on the same RDNA architecture that is tried and tested and loved, based on the same 7-nanometer advanced process technology, as well as including technology such as PCI Gen 4. So remember, I talked about the GTX 1060 on the previous slide. Before I get into the actual performance, let's do a quick drop on the perf per watt. The 5700 launch, we compared the 5700 series to the Radeon Vega family, and we showed an up to 1.5x perf per watt improvement. Likewise, if you compare the 5600 XT to the other member of the GCN family, which is the RX 590, we are actually seeing an over 2x improvement in perf per watt. Typically, gen on gen, you look 50-60% improvement in performance, but looking at something that's over 2x is considered multi-generational. And so the point that we're trying to get across is as a result of the 7 nanometer process technology and brand new RDNA architecture, not only is the RX 5600 very performant, it's also very power efficient. Going back to the comparison to the 1060 that I kicked off a few slides ago, as you can see, not only is 5600 a worthy upgrade to everyone on a 1060 6GB, it's actually future-proof for the next few years because well past the 60 frames per second needed for AAA gaming with everything at ultra quality. And likewise, it's well past 120 frames per second for esports gaming. And once again, with everything turned on. So looking at the typical upgrade cycles in this segment where folks tend to hold on to their GPUs for at least about 3 years or so, and RX 60 makes a worthy upgrade to the GTX 1060 6GB. Enough about the past. Let's talk about GPUs here and now today. So in comparison to the GTX 1660 Ti, we can see that across the board on both AAA titles as well as esports titles, we have a pretty compelling proposition when it comes to performance. Let's drill a little bit deeper on the AAA titles. Very similar to the 5700 launch, we've included a mix of titles that are optimized both for the competition as well as for our own GPUs. And in addition to that, we've also thrown in a bunch of different APIs, DX11, DX12, Vulkan, to give a very rounded performance view. And you can see that the worst case scenario, we are anywhere from low single digits to mid single digits in front of the competition. And the best case scenario, it can be over a 30% bump in performance. It nets out to at least about 30% improvement on AAA titles and up to 10% improvement on esports games. To further round out the competitive view, we are also throwing in a comparison versus a GTX 1660 Super overclock SKU. Now, the SKU that we selected here is one of the highest end 1660 Supers available with a triple axial setup. So essentially, this is one of the best versions of the competition's product. And you can see that even in this case, on AAA titles as well as esports titles, we have a measurable lead over the competition. And again, the point that we're trying to make is that in addition to very, very strong and compelling rounded performance, they're also driving tier 1 high-end efficiency. So now that you have a good idea of what the performance looks like versus the previous generation products as well as the competing products out in the market today, let's round out the view and talk about the software. As most of you know, we introduced the Radeon Adrenalin 2020 edition just last month, and both gamers as well as the media absolutely love it. It gives you more control, it gives you more access, it gives performance, it gives you more responsiveness over your gaming experience with features such as Radeon Boost and Radeon Anti-Lag as part of the Radeon software. But the single most important feature that has been hugely well received has been Radeon Image Sharpening. And the beauty of Radeon Image Sharpening is that you can apply this upgrade, this visual upgrade, to any game by just selecting a toggle in your Radeon Adrenalin software. So that is the kind of value that AMD is bringing to the PC gamers in addition to stellar performance. Moving on to the next slide, talking about the features once again. A new feature with the Radeon Adrenalin 2020 edition called Radeon Boost that massively improves your performance in supported titles by up to 30-something%. If you go back to the performance that we showed a couple of slides ago, those charts do not, in fact, include Radeon Boost. So you can imagine, in addition to the anywhere from 5 to 30% bump in performance, if you layer in the added performance of Radeon Boost, you have a very, very compelling performance story with the RX 5600 series. And then to add to that, if you're a competitive gamer or a pro gamer, Radeon Anti-Lag just gives you that edge that no one else can provide. Because in addition to providing very high frame rate, which the 5600 XT is very good at, Anti-Lag also massively reduces the latency, the click-to-response latency. And when you pair all of this up with a very healthy ecosystem of FreeSync displays, Radeon just makes you the best competitive gamer. Moving on. The next slide, I want to get across the fact that the RX 5600 XT will be available January 21st on shelf, and there won't be any reference cards. What you're seeing on screen are all the actual images of our AIB partners and at least one of their SKUs that will be available at launch. Just like with the 5700 and the 5500 series, every single one of our AIB partners will have at least one SKU. In some case, they have up to 4 SKUs that will be available at or around launch. So we have a very healthy, vibrant ecosystem of Radeon RX 5000 series GPUs that you, the gamer, can choose from. To round things off, here is a look at the entire RX 5000 series family. When we debuted the 5700 series, which is the RX 5700 and the RX 5700 XT, we were going for positioning it as the ultimate 1440p gaming GPU, and we were very successful in doing that. Likewise, when we launched the 5500, our intent was to bring mainstream 1080p gaming to the masses, and we've been successful in doing that. As I'd mentioned earlier, with the 5600 series, our aim is to deliver the ultimate 1080p gaming experience. And if you look at the comparison in terms of raw memory bandwidth, which is equally important as the frame buffer, you can see that the R100 series has nearly 30% uplift in raw memory bandwidth over the 5500. So it's this capability in terms of raw bandwidth paired with the 5600 XT GPU that drives the ultimate 1080p gaming experience. So to wrap things up, as I summarized in the previous slides, the RX 5600 XT is the ultimate 1080p gaming GPU that delivers the ultimate AAA gaming performance, the ultimate esports gaming performance, as well as the ultimate Radeon gaming experience when you pair it with an AMD FreeSync display, as Radeon Anti-Lag, Radeon Boost, and our vibrant and immersive bundles that we offer partnering with our developers. So with that, it's a wrap for the RX 5600 XT deck. Thank you.